Hello, everybody. Today, we are going to be talking about my favorite band of all time, and quite possibly one of the most influential metal bands of all time, or at least over the last 40 years. We're going to be talking about Iron Maiden, specifically their self-titled album, the first album in 1980. The reason I want to talk about this album is I really wanted to just kind of highlight how underlooked it is and underappreciated. It's something that's very close to my heart. Like, I loved this album. A lot of times, I don't know if you guys get this too, but a lot of times when you first discover something, it kind of becomes like your favorite thing or your most well-known thing from that band, or, in a series of movies or TV shows or something like that. But with Iron Maiden, I've heard a few songs and I loved a few of their songs. And yet when I found this album, I was like, wow, this album is even better than some of the other things I've heard, and I really like this. Like, it's just a very weird, underrated mix of styles and genres, and song to song, every song sounds pretty varied and different. But I don't know, I like it. We'll get into it more in a little bit. We're gonna rank and discuss every song on this album. We did an album ranking of Iron Maiden before, and I just like to discuss my favorite things. I like to discuss your favorite things too. Really, I love seeing what other people rank and decide as like their favorite, or things like that. There's no right or wrong answer. It's all subjective and it's all for fun. So I'm going to get into this one. Please, again, don't be afraid to suggest anything you want to see ranked or discussed on here. I have no problem making videos about any of our favorite things. And please, if you have any fond memories of this album or any of the songs listed on here, any parts that really stand out to you, don't be afraid to talk about them. Throw your ranking in there if you want to. But yeah, we will get into it now. So at the number 9 spot, out of 9 songs, 9 great songs I might add, we got Transylvania. And for me, it's just missing something. It's a very well-written song. It is an awesome song. I love the instrumentals on the song, but I need vocals. Like, an actual instrumental song is not bad. I have to have some kind of vocals or something in it. And Transylvania was an instrumental song. It was just kind of like, hey, we can write this way too. Because a lot of the songs on Iron Maiden are shorter, more like kind of not punk in the style of, how 80s punk was very fast and powerful and anything like that, but just more the style, more the tone. It wasn't as harmony focused, I think, on this album as they got to later on. They didn't develop that typical like Iron Maiden sound that you hear. I mean, it's there, but it's not as prominent. It's not the the featured show. It's more just kind of like we're developing our tone, which most bands do, of course, on their first couple of albums. However, this one is just such an interesting melting pot of styles. Transylvania is a very good flex of what they could write and how they could harmonize and play off each other when the guitars are really kind of like doing their thing. And Steve Harris, he's always been a great bass player, but also he's a bass player in the sense that he can stand out or he can back up. And I like that. I like that about all the band members. I think everybody's like that in this band. And I think especially later on when you have multiple guitar solos and going back and forth and doing the harmonies and things like that. Like, everybody just kind of knows when to do their part. So it's a very good flex of talent around all the instrumentals. Something else before we go on to the next one that I love about just Iron Maiden in general is the fact that each album has a different style, feel, and tone. And each decade kind of has like a different writing style. So you can see the 2000s are very different from the 2010s writing. You can see the 80s are very different from the 90s writing, but they all have that same Iron Maiden kind of feel to them. And so it's just, I think that kind of keeps your band's longevity is the fact that they can switch up so much, but also not too much where you lose that style. And Transylvania is kind of a good bridge between newer 80s stuff and older 80s stuff. Which, I mean, all of it's old now, but you know what I mean. At the time, it was newer and older. Anyway, we're going to keep that comfortably at the number 9 spot. Like I say, it's just missing the vocals, but a great flex of the instrumentals. And next at the number 8 spot, we have Running Free. Running Free, to me, is one of those songs that is very well known. And I am somebody that I can respect an anthem song. I can respect a song that'll kind of just pump you up and get you going. And Running Free is one of those songs. To me, it's kind of more like, especially back in the early days of the band, it was that song you would play to kind of bridge the gap between two really, really good songs. And then you kind of play Running Free, get the crowd pumping, get them back into it, and then hit them with the next, banger song. It's not particularly intricate or complex or anything like that. It's just your standard, where we can sing along to this. We know it's coming, clap your hands, kind of like get into it. But, it wasn't some incredible harmony on here. It wasn't one of those songs where, it was designed to be a flex of the instrumental talent in the band. It's just one of those songs that works. It's a pretty good song, and it's something that's easy to listen to. It's also been around a while, not just in length, but it's played in different games, and there's parts of You'll see this in documentaries. You'll see a couple of these other in documentaries too, which is funny because if you watch an Iron Maiden documentary, they always use Running Free. I feel like I've seen it in so many different things for Iron Maiden. And it just kind of describes the band well, especially at that moment. That's just go for it, just get it, just do what you got to do. I'm not going to be stopped, get out of my way, that kind of thing. And so it's a good song. You can get into it. You can get into it. You know what I mean? But I feel good about it at the number 8 spot because it doesn't do a whole lot of Iron Maiden stuff, but also it is a good song. Not a great song, but a good song in my opinion. At number 7, we're going to have Remember Tomorrow. And like I say, every song on this album is actually pretty good. I think this whole album is very overlooked and underrated. And I think as we go through this list, you're going to look at these songs. And, even me as an Iron Maiden fan, a huge fan of Iron Maiden, I was looking at this ranking and it kind of opened my eyes. I'm like, there's a lot of songs that have been covered by bands on this album, which, I know Iron Maiden, the whole 80s discography has been covered at this point. But, every one of these songs is featured in documentaries, and not even just Iron Maiden documentaries, but Iron Maiden, parts in rock documentaries. A lot of these are put in there. Obviously, people look at Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, The Trooper, that kind of thing. But I really look at this album and I'm like, man, there are a lot of bangers on this album. And this is why it's good to rank and list kind of, your comparisons to whatever we list on here, because there's really more. The more you get into it, the more you can appreciate and see what's going on. Remember Tomorrow is definitely one of those. It was covered by Opeth, among many other bands, but it's just there's so many influential parts to the song, and the overall song itself is just so kind of somber and different from the rest of the album, where most of this album is very kind of fast, upbeat, anthem-y songs. People are just jumping and clapping to these, singing along. Remember Tomorrow is just a really, beautiful song, but just very a good showcase of how these styles all come together here. Great guitar work. I think, Steve does a fantastic job with the bass not being too overbearing because he has a specific tone. It's a very that clanky Steve Harris tone that you can just absolutely hear. You hear two different tones from him. You hear the actual bass coming off, and then you hear those strings slapping. Not actual slapping, of course, but just the way they bounce off of the frets, and the pickups just capture that, that sting so nicely. I don't know. I really like Steve's tone. And it's a powerful tone, but Remember Tomorrow, you can hear it, but it's not that out of place, overbearing, I think it's interesting when some bands that for speed and harmony and power and things like that will play a slower, more somber song. They kind of forget that they need to change up the style a little bit to fit it. So it's just kind of the same sound, the same tone, and the same everything for, a song that requires very different guitar work and things like that. Not this band, though. Not Iron Maiden. This is a very nice song. I feel for me, I just have to be in the mood to listen to it. The only reason it's lower is, it's a great song, but it's not one of those that I'm like, oh, this is on? Hell yeah, I'm keeping it on. Sometimes I feel I just want to listen to this chill And even for like relaxing though, like if you want to just listen to a lighter song when you're relaxing, I think it's just kind of like such a dark song, and it builds. It has this like swelling build, which it's just I think it's a very, very good song. It's a two-part kind of song in my opinion. And there's a couple of songs on this album that are what I would describe as a two-part song, where there's like this just undertone, this like, this one certain feeling, and then it just absolutely builds to this other. And it's a wild ride, Remember Tomorrow is, but like I say, you just kind of be in the mood for it. I like it a lot, but I'm going to keep it here at the number 7 spot. Very, very good song, though. I mean, it's a step way above Running Free in Transylvania. Now, we're going to have at the number 6 spot Sanctuary. And Sanctuary, to me, is very much like Running Free in the fact that it's like kind of that bridge song that, pump up the crowd, the anthem song from this album that is very... You might not know it off the name, but you have heard this song undoubtedly in many, many documentaries and shows that feature Iron Maiden. Usually a plane's flying or landing or something, and then Sanctuary will happen in the interlude between parts of the documentary or whatever. But it's one that I cannot help but love. If I'm in the mood for Remember Tomorrow will jump way up in this list. But Sanctuary is one that comes on, and it's a quick hit song. And I think that's what saves it from being a little lower on the list. There's not a ton of substance to it. There's not a ton of like intricate guitar work or anything like that. The opening riff is just, it catches you, and then you just kind of ride that wave until the end. But the lyrics, there's not a whole lot of depth to them either. But it does the job. I mean, it's just one of those, like I say, it's a short, quick hit, kind of like it gets your blood flowing. Running Free was kind of that drum-heavy song, and the band kind of played around that. This is more just kind of like the guitar-heavy song, and then everything plays around that. So just different style, but same kind of idea. And I'm a big fan of Sanctuary. I actually like it a lot. It's not nearly what the top 5 songs are. I think the top 5 songs just kind of blow the rest of these songs away for the most part, but more because of, I guess, nostalgia and mood. That's another thing about these older albums. You have a lot of like core memories tied to these songs, which I think kind of also sways my opinion. So even though some of these songs might be like, Remember Tomorrow is a very well-written song, and it's almost criminal for me, even in myself, to put it at number 7 compared to some of these other ones. But I think the feelings that these next few bring out of me are more just, like I say, personal feelings and everything like that. So if you have Remember Tomorrow up higher, Sanctuary down lower, any of that stuff, obviously that is totally understandable. So at the number 5 spot, we have Prowler, and this is kind of where I think the field gets a little more separated here. I think, so my bottom 4 are very good songs, and then Prowler is a step above those, kind of sitting by itself. And then a step above that is the next 4. But the next 4, I think these songs just get better and better for various reasons. I think a lot of nostalgia is tied into these. I think a lot of personal feelings are more connected with these songs. Prowler, for me, the only reason it's not higher is because I think it's a tale of two songs here. The first part of the song is very powerful. It hits you. You just cannot help but just nod your head and sing along, and you're just going with it. It's Paul's just doing his thing with the vocals, and the guitar riffs are great. But after that, I think the song does kind of take one of those very jarring turns. It's not necessarily bad. It's like there's two songs that just kind of collided here. And that's how their style was. I mean, the first album for sure, the second album a little bit more on Killers. But that's just kind of how they did things. It was that, again, that more modern kind of new wave punk feeling where it wasn't like, just thrashing out a song for a couple of minutes. It was, you would have that power and that speed element, but then also just like you would hit the wall, and then now your song is a totally different song. And I'm somebody who likes a little more flow in the song, a little more seamless transition and stuff like that. I still love the song, but it's kind of like there's a few bands that do this, and I think a good parallel, although weird, is how Slipknot's first album was as well. And a song like, let's say like Eyeless or something like that, where you have just this powerful, first couple of minutes of the song, and then after that it just like falls off this cliff and has a completely different tone and sound. And same with Prowler. It's like you just get on this ride for a bit and you're like pumped up and ready to go, and then you just get you crash right in the middle there, and it's like this whole different song. And there's a lot of people that love that style and love that, like, I mean, EDM is the same way, except in reverse, where you have this like kind of, this intro that builds up the drop, and then you go into the next part. So, I mean, it's been around musically for a while, and you can definitely draw parallels to it. I'm just not a huge fan of that style. However, I think what Prowler does really good in the first and the second half of the song, it does really, really good. I think just as the overall song, it's a little tougher to get into for it to be up higher than this. At number 4, we have Charlotte the Harlot, which is a pretty well-written song. I like it a lot. I think it is a very good song all around, and I think they do a good job of transitioning the intro riffs, the kind of like, the ones you associate with that song into the next part, the interlude and things like that. I think it's a good song all the way through. It's like Prowler in the fact that, again, it has that like first part, then that distinct second part, but they just flow it a little better here. And I think when you get to that like middle bit where it kind of slows down a little bit, the accents and tones, this is something I love about this self-titled album specifically for Iron Maiden. There's these little guitar accents and, harmonics and things that happen in the background that just accentuate the song. It's almost like when you look at this is going to be really weird, but you'll know what I'm talking about if you listen to it. It's like kind of how in some like space backgrounds and movies and things like that, if you have like stars twinkling or whatever, it's just that's the imagery I get with the sounds I'm getting, because you'll just hear like this little note off in the distance or something like that that'll accentuate the song, and I love that kind of stuff. I think it's very atmospheric. Like I say, this album is such a huge blend of different styles, and I think every single band member at the time brought something very, very different. Steve, obviously that classic Iron Maiden all the way through. Dave Murray with his like legato tone and playing and everything like that. But also they had, Clive was a very, very different kind of drummer to Nico. Nico took over later on in, Peace of Mind and Beyond. But, Clive was good at hitting the drums with power, but also knowing when to add different fills and accentuations and things that kind of boosted the all-around atmospheric tone of the song. And of course, Paul Di'Anno was one of those guys who he had a range, a really crazy range. It was kind of like a one style range where, I mean, he was always singing kind of the same way, but the notes he could hit were wild. And I love his voice. I actually love his tone and how he sings. Some people don't, but I think it works really, really well. I wouldn't have minded getting more albums with him, honestly. But then again, Bruce is amazing. That's the thing about Iron Maiden. They've always had such great, just members and such great, just contributors to all these songs. And I think that's where we get this melting pot feel, especially on Charlotte the Harlot. I think it's a great showcase of what they can do on this album. But personal feelings, I just think there are 3 songs that, I am just addicted to when I hear them. And honestly, I could see this one at number 3 being a little controversial because there are 3 pretty heavy anthem songs on this album. And those are, always the ones people they want to hear, but they don't want to hear because they're well-written, incredible songs. They just want to hear them because, oh yeah, I know this song. It's easy to sing. It's easy to get into. It pumps me up. Iron Maiden, Sanctuary, and Running Free are like that. So Iron Maiden is funny because it's a self-titled song on a self-titled album. So if you had it on your MP3 players back in the day, it just said Iron Maiden, Iron Maiden, Iron Maiden. And that's literally what this song is. It is just the most anthem-y song. They play it at every show. It's really, really good, though. Like, how underlooked I want to say the guitar riffs and the writing is in this song, just because it is kind of, that like, oh yeah, we're singing, everybody's singing along to it. You don't even notice how the guitars are just kind of going at it. And it's so, they almost cover it themselves when they play live because of how you can just vary the song up so much and do so much with it. But I mean, I'm already excited just talking about this. Like, you can hear it, you can feel it in my voice right now. How much like this song, it just gets me going. I really like it. It is tied to so many core memories growing up. It's tied to, like I say, every concert I saw, they played this song. And then, it's one that everybody who likes Iron Maiden just tries to play at some point or another in their life. I don't know. I love this song. It's not as well written as the next couple, in my opinion, or even some of them that are behind it, but it's just all around that feeling, that power, that, that energy that's just tied to that song. There's no real emotion to it, but you know what? It's okay because we got that energy going, and I love it. That's kind of all you can say about it. It's a very straightforward song, and it's a quick song, but it is Iron Maiden, and I love it. But next we will talk about the second to number one spot, the penultimate song in our list, Phantom of the Opera. And man, Phantom of the Opera is just the complete opposite of Iron Maiden. Not the band, but the song. It is just such a good song, such a well-written song. The harmonies in this song are the best in, I think, this whole album, and some of the best in the first couple of albums. It is just so good. And it switches up the song a lot in here. It's a longer song, too. But it's a long song in the fact that it doesn't get boring. It doesn't get old. It's just longer than a lot of the songs on this list here and on this album. And it's another one that just gets so covered, and people are always doing this song over and over again. I love it so much, though. I think Ghost did a cover of this more recently, and it's really good. But Phantom of the Opera, for me, it's just kind of, it's powerful, it's quick, and I don't understand a word that Paul Di'Anno says in this song. Couldn't care less. His voice is good in it. The whole album has this real, like, rough mix kind of feel, but not where it's distracting. It just feels like you get transported back into the 80s with this whole album, and I think that is just such a good, whether it was intentional or not, it was a good style. It was good production choice, in my opinion. And I think it's what heavily differentiates the first couple of albums. Because Killers is very similar in style, tone, everything. But it's just more refined. So I think the energy and the thing they're going for in this album is very well displayed in this song, and the production quality and everything like that. But yeah, Phantom of the Opera is a powerful song. It's a great song. It's at number 2 for a reason. I freaking love this song, and it's just I can't stop listening to it. I want to listen to it right now. The bass in this song is great. I actually was learning to play this song for a while, and man, you want to talk about a song that's kind of tough to get into when you're first learning. The stretch in this song, and it's not stretching as like you have to go all over the fretboard or anything, but just the fact that he's moving so quick while kind of like getting through this. And I know technically, like, there's some insane virtuoso bass players out there and everything, but as far as just writing and making songs kind of flow together, this is more my like speed and everything like that. But yeah, Phantom of the Opera sitting here at number 2. Great imagery, great song, great transitions, just everything about it's freaking fantastic. If you have not heard this, you have to go back and listen to it. And I almost certainly feel like you had to have heard this if you like Iron Maiden, but definitely check it out if you haven't already. Revisit it. It's great. Here at the number 1 spot, we have definitely something that's probably going to ruffle some feathers if you're a huge fan of this album. Maybe not, though, honestly. I think it's one of the most underrated songs in the whole discography. Strange World, to me, has just such incredibly intricate, delicate writing to it, especially if you look at the rest of the songs on this list. There are powerful songs. Remember Tomorrow kind of starts off a little slow, then it builds up and hits you. Phantom of the Opera is just a wild ride all the way through. Running Free and Sanctuary are going to build you up and get you going. Iron Maiden is going to, have that heart pumping as well. It's just like there's so many songs on here that really kind of get the blood flowing. And then this one, it's just a very delicate, atmospheric sounding song. And it's just, it's that twinkling thing again, like I was saying. The guitars are doing things. You got to really listen to everything that's going on in this song. Like, the song is so well written. Paul's voice, it moves me in this song. I mean, it is just so good. I have memories, distinct memories, and I've talked about this on all the streams I've done and the, even a lot of the YouTube videos on the other channel and everything like that. Like, I talk about how I would drive home like real late at night from work. And I'm talking about like 1 or 2 a.m. after just a long, tiring day. And I would put this song on. I would just drive. It's dark, nobody on the road. I was in the middle of, like a wooded area or something like that, just kind of getting through to the next town. The stars above, it was like just with this song, I don't know, it was just a very atmospheric, perfect feel and a great way to kind of wind down and listen to everything all at once. It's still one of those songs I play on stream often now because it's one of those mood setting, just incredible. I keep saying well written, but it is just so underratedly, like criminally underratedly well written. It definitely doesn't sound like traditional Iron Maiden stuff, but that's what I like about Iron Maiden. They're not afraid to just do stuff and make songs, especially nowadays. They're just kind of, they're on side quests at this point. They have their Iron Maiden songs, and then they have, Iron Maiden Plus, as I call it, where they just do whatever they want on top of their traditional themes and tones. But man, Strange World, from start to finish, you are just on this, you just feel like you're in a different time. You're in a different, it's one of those that really slows life down around you and you can get into it. And I just absolutely love this song. I will listen to it no matter what. I don't know. I talk about Seinfeld a lot, but there's that Desperado episode where Elaine's boyfriend just will get like locked into that song and nobody can snap him out of it. Dude, that's how I am with this song. It's crazy, man. I love this song, and I think it is such a... If you have not listened to Strange World or not listened to it close enough, please go back and listen to it. Tie it to like a, just you're stargazing, you're outside, you're working on something, or like just whatever. I don't know. Just it has this very nostalgic property to it to me. And, man, I love this song so much. Yeah, I definitely would highly recommend it. It is by far and away my favorite on the album. One of my favorite they've done. And, like I say, this whole album is just so underrated in my opinion. But every one of these songs, I feel like we know kind of almost every one of the songs on this album. I think there are 6 or 7 songs where you have no doubtably heard them on something or in something. Or just listen to them over and over again. You might love the album. Who knows? But anyway, feel free to rank the songs, check them out. Let me know what your ranking is of the album or how you feel about the album, any personal memories that are tied to this album. I love hearing from people. I love seeing what people also... Like I say, I want this to be more of a discussion channel than anything. That's why I don't script any of this stuff. I know I sound, kind of ridiculous, just all over the place, spouting off, and half the things I say probably don't even make any sense, but it's mostly just because I let the feeling of whatever I'm talking about just kind of take over. You get the nothing but honest opinion here, and like I said, it's just kind of how I wanted it. But thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for listening along and commenting and ranking and everything you do. Feel free to stop by the streams too if you want to jump into like the Andy Havoc stream on Twitch or whatever and talk about music, and we could put on some songs or something. I'm cool with all that. I just like talking to people and discussing things. I say it all, over and over again, and I usually ramble at the end of like every video, but I mean, it's just, life's too short to not enjoy things with awesome people. So thank you all for everything, and I will see you in the next one. We will be ranking killers next for this series, but I don't know what the actual next video on this channel is going to be. So I don't know. Whatever happens, whatever comes out, I'll see you then. or I'll see you when we rank killers. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. Have a good one. Thank you for everything, and please take care of yourselves, y'all.